recent study conducted by NYU that reported almost 18% of high school seniors smoke hookahs or water pipes. And while hookah smoking is up, cigarette smoking, believe it or not, is down. But why are young people gravitating towards them? So joining us now, we have Joe Schrank, founder of thefix.com, an addiction specialist, and Dr. Eric Braverman. So nice to have you both here. So let's talk about this report. The study, 15,000 high school students, and it noticed that there was a 21% increase among high school students regarding this. Dr. Braverman, why do you see that?
It's the Red Bull of tobacco.
Okay.
Basically, it's a high. It's an intense nicotine. It's like Adderall. It helps them think and concentrate temporarily, but in the long run, it's trouble. I see kids smoking it outside now in the parks and in the street. On 34th Street, I drove by someone smoking one of these pipes.
Well,
it is more toxic than regular nicotine. Everyone knows nicotine's a gateway drug to cocaine, Adderall abuse. It's really a loser in the long run.
All right, Joe, talk about that. What do you think about this being a gateway drug?
You know, I think behaviorally it's absolutely a gateway drug.
Yeah.
I think that comparing it to cocaine or Adderall is alarmist.
Yeah.
For sure. I think that drug policy is largely effective to the degree that we're going to be honest about it. Fear tactics typically have not worked well. What does work is taxation and regulation. The reason that smoking is down is because of the heavy tax. It's not because the just say no rhetoric is working.
But there's got to be a social aspect to this, kids hanging out and having fun and saying, you know what, Mom, Dad, we're going to go to a hookah bar and hang out. Yeah. I mean, I got to imagine that's part of the perception of kids.
It's absolutely part of the perception.
That.
It's part of the peer support. It's part of the peer acceptance. It is something that is very social. It doesn't fit in your pocket, so it's not like smoking cigarettes. It's not safe in any way. There's nothing healthy about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're smelling this right now, and it smells like cotton candy.
And it's also carbon monoxide. I mean, you got to think of it as like, basically inhaling a muffler. If you feel like going to have a hookah, you could go instead to the back of your...
It doesn't smell like a muffler.
No,
it doesn't smell like a muffler.
But that's what's in it. It is carbon monoxide comes out of it. It's 10 times to 20 times more powerful than nicotine. But here's the advantage.
Okay.
It helps you concentrate nicotine as opposed to marijuana.
So you think that's why kids
there's an advantage, right? Kids come to me nonstop. You can't even get Adderall for an adult right now in New York because so many kids are getting it from their psychiatrist to make it basically headway in high school. So what you got is tobacco helps you think, marijuana makes you dumb and makes you obese. So our marijuana abuse problem is more toxic to the country than tobacco.
All right, let's talk about that. What is your reaction?
Absolutely. Marijuana definitely fosters complacency. Look, there's nothing healthy about this. I don't know that anybody is supporting this as a practice. I think that the issue is largely that it's a harm reduction type thing, better than chronic smoking. And so I think that kids think it's harmless.
Well, now you got e-hookahs, you got e-cigarettes. The FDA does not actually...
Right, but the idea of, your kid goes to one of these things and then they're snorting Adderall.
Yeah, but parents have to be concerned about this as well because it is just as dangerous as taking a cigarette.
Absolutely. But it's a sign that they're not getting reward from the basics of exercise, work, eating well, relationships.
That's an easy thing that any parent could say, like, get out, exercise,
yeah, but there's a reward
well.
deficiency if you got to get a high from 10 times, 20 times potent tobacco.
Yeah.
But it's still better than marijuana.
But is it just a reason of kids being kids, kids trying things, kids going out there and doing things that are, sometimes not experimental, let's say.
Absolutely. We're not going to get around adolescence. Adolescence is a time of experimentation. Some of these kids will go on to other things, and that's the concern. Some, it's a fad.
We need to get behind around adolescence. What we're not doing in pediatrics is preparing our kids for basically what I call steroid psychosis of adolescence. All of a sudden, you get all these hormones into your brain at 15 years old, testosterone and estrogen, and kids go nuts. We are not taking care of our children's development. Instead, we're spending a fortune on the dying in the hospitals, and that's the problem.
Let's talk about hookahs in particular. Do you think they need to be regulated by the federal
obviously,
government?
They got to be taxed.
Okay.
And you need to, basically we need to drive marijuana down. We'd be better off with tobacco again. We're better off with exercise. We need to promote healthy behaviors. We got to make fish cheap. We got to make nutrients cheap.
We're not better off with
vegetables
tobacco. Tobacco is the most egregious and killing substance out there. People do not smoke marijuana the way they smoke tobacco, and they don't smoke these things the way they smoke tobacco. Yes, they need to be heavily regulated and heavily taxed. Well, all of the research supports that if you want to reduce use, you raise taxes. That would include alcohol and marijuana. You know, the rhetoric of just say no, kids, you're bad, all of that is ineffective. It's bad policy.
All right, we'll leave it at that. We'll discuss it further. Lots of useful information, two different viewpoints right here. But what we can tell you is that there's a 21% increase of high school students actually starting to smoke hookah. So parents, this is like some food for thought that we all need to be concerned about, be educated about, and to learn more about. So to learn more about the dangers of hookah smoking, please go to pix11.com and click on the Scene on Pix11 tab, where you can find out more information. It is 8:20. You can get now Swanky Cat.